check. I'm good. So I'm Max Ceron. Max Ceron, CWB Association Welding Podcast. Podcast. Today we have a really cool guest, Welding Podcast.
The show is about to begin.
Hello and welcome to another edition of the CWB Association Podcast. My name is Max Ceron and I'm here with you guys again for another fantastic interview with a person who has gone into the world of art but came from the world of industry, Jen Phillips. How are you doing today, Jen?
I'm doing good, Max. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. It's a sunny day here in Saskatchewan. I was feeling a little under the weather yesterday, but I'm feeling better today. But, up and up, and the world doesn't wait for you, so you got to just get out there, right?
That's right. Yeah, I can feel your pain here this week.
Well, you got a couple of young kids, you said, and they brought home the school diseases like usual.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, about twice a month, if that, more maybe.
How old are your kids?
I have a 3.5-year-old and a 1.5-year-old, so we're busy.
Man, you got a long way to go still.
I know, hands are full, that's for sure.
All right, Jen, so let's start at the beginning. Where are you located right now?
So right now I'm in Kerrobert, Saskatchewan.
But you said you're from Alberta, so where were you born?
So I was born in Edmonton, Alberta, and right before we moved here, I lived in St. Albert, which is just outside of Edmonton, the north side. See, I got that down.
Yeah, stomping ground. So what made you go from St. Albert, North Alberta, which I've been in that area, and I've been to St. Albert, beautiful. What made you move to Kerrobert, Saskatchewan?
So my husband is an electrician, and he actually got a job offer in Kerrobert. His whole family's from here, so it worked out. But he was working out of town on the road quite a bit, and this allows him to be home every night, hanging with the family. So it's been a good move for sure.
Good. And how do you like being in Saskatchewan?
No, it's pretty good. It's different than Alberta, less trees, a little flatter for sure, but there's some good lakes around here. Golf course is right up the road, so that's been fun.
Yeah, and if you're 2 hours west, if you're right,
That's not right. I'm looking at it in my head right now, the map.
Yeah. So if you're 2 hours west of Saskatoon, that means that you're only like what, 3.5, 4 hours from Edmonton, not even?
Yeah, about 4-hour drive, so not terrible.
Well, that's all right then. So you're not too far away.
My mom thinks it's pretty far, but it could be worse.
Yeah, you never win. Like my parents used to live in Vancouver and Richmond, and I'm in Regina. And so that felt far, but we're also from South America. So that's way farther. So Vancouver is closer than Chile, but still, so people are like, oh yeah, I got to drive 2 hours to see my mom and dad. I'm like, I got to drive 21 hours to see my mom and dad. What are you talking about? Like,
yeah, no kidding. You got good.
So let's start with your journey here. Let's talk about what you do. So are you, you're a Red Seal Welder, okay?
Yeah.
Now that makes a lot of sense coming from Alberta, if that's where you did your welding apprenticeship. So, if you grew up in Edmonton, moved to St. Albert, you got into the welding industry right out of high school, or did you have a couple years in between?
So right out of high school, but I actually started the RAP program, the Registered Apprentice program, in grade 10. So by the time I was graduated, I had like all my first year hours for welding. So got a good start.
Explain to the people that are listening that don't know Alberta, because Alberta has a lot of things that nobody else does. Like Alberta's its own island in Canada, in case you didn't know, in terms of apprenticeship. Nobody has systems the same way or even the same curriculum in many instances. So what is the RAP program? Like, how does this work? What does it do?
Yeah, so the RAP program basically in high school, I think, grade 10 is where I started. I don't believe you can start earlier. So grade 10, you choose a trade that you're interested in, and basically you find a job, you get hired on, and you get work experience, you get high school credits. So I think they treat it as like a class. You get high school credits, but you still get paid for your job. And then, you gain hours towards your apprenticeship. So basically just a head start, towards your trade.
And would you get paid like normal wage of like what the other workers in the job would be making? Like obviously low level, but like 14
Yeah.
bucks an hour or 15 bucks an hour, or would you be getting paid something like minimum wage?
No, so I was definitely like for the first 6 months, just minimum wage. So I was basically hired on as a laborer, like, you know, got earn your keep a bit. So minimum wage, and then I think in grade 12, I was actually getting paid like the same as
As a level
not
one.
first year, but yeah, just about a level one. So I believe it'd be different depending on the workplace, but still,
Okay.
still pretty good.
So how did you know you want to do that? You know, grade 10, you're like 14, dude. Like, how did 14-year-old Jen be like, I want to be a welder? Like, there's 25-year-olds, 30-year-olds that don't even know what the hell they want to do. How did a 14-year-old know?
Yeah, that's funny. So it's actually, I chose this because I didn't know what I wanted to do. So grade 10, yeah, I mean, it just seemed like kind of a big decision, right? Choose your career, like choose one thing you're going to do for the rest of your life. So that's when one of my career counselors in high school brought to me this registered apprentice program. And my stepdad was in the oil patch like my whole entire life. My grandpa was a welder, so I was very familiar with the trades, and just seeing how like well my dad had done with the trades, I guess, definitely swayed me into taking a trade myself. Um,
Did you have the support? Did you have the support at home? Like as a young female looking to get in the trades, it was a-okay?
I think it was definitely a bit shocking, probably the most for my grandma, who was 85 maybe at the time. What? Do you want to be a welder? Didn't even make sense to her, not one bit. I definitely did. I mean, for my parents too, they were a bit surprised, but I definitely had the support from them.
Good, good. And then, you know, you sign up in grade 10, and does this take away time from your other studies? Is it like, do you gotta like leave the school? Obviously, you gotta go work somewhere. So, you know, how does this work with the rest of your studies?
So basically, I would take classes till noon, and then the other half of the day, I would go work in a fab shop. And yeah, it actually worked out. I grew up in a small town, so the shop was right down the road. But yeah, in grade 10, a couple years from graduating, I pretty much had decided I was definitely going into the trades and wouldn't be taking any university classes. So I only needed, you know, this many classes. And I was very focused at this point on the welding. So yeah, I wasn't really missing out on any of the school, I guess, because I didn't need.
Yeah, you didn't need to take
Yeah.
chemistry or something. I don't know, whatever.
I tried it out. It wasn't for me.
See, I sucked at biology when I was in high school, and I thought I'd be good at it. I don't know. I felt like I like nature, I like science, and I took biology, and I was like, this is dumb. Like,
This is not what I thought it was.
so you know, you're in this program now in your small town high school. You were lucky enough. It sounds like that they had a welding. Did they have welding stuff at your high school? Like this was something your career counselor talked to you about in school, which to me that's awesome because that doesn't happen everywhere. Like, not too many counselors push their students into the trades. You know what I mean?
I must have been failing chemistry.
They're like, "Oh, geez, Jen. Have you ever thought about turning wrenches?" No, like.
Yeah, probably something like that. He's a troublemaker.
So when you got out of high school, 2 years in, you already got hours. You know, you said you're pretty much at level 1 hours, and in Alberta, it's the apprenticeship stream. Like you're either welding through apprenticeship or you're not welding. It's kind of that's it. You decide those are the choices you have. Were you able to stay where you were working, or did you kind of have to go get a different job or move or do something?
No, so I was pretty lucky that way. My whole first year, I worked in the same shop. And then it wasn't until second year, by my own choice, I wanted to get some different like field experience. So I did go out, work like Fox Creek, and did a couple of jobs in the field, which I think was good just to see all aspects of the trade.
And did you like it?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, at that time I was young, you know, single, ready to party. So it was fun. It it was good. Like, I would hate it now. I definitely couldn't leave the babies, right? It just doesn't work. But when at that age you just want to make money, it was pretty good.
Yeah, like I didn't like working in the field very much when I was young. Like it was okay for a bit, but I got tired of it pretty fast.
Yeah. I mean, I liked it more than being in the fab shop. I think it was just like fab shop, you're doing the same stuff every day, just repeat. The field, you kind of get a little more different action, I guess.
Yeah, and like I mean, it depends what you're doing in the field too. If it's maintenance or you're fixing things, then it's a mystery every day, right?
Right. What am I doing?
So, as you worked through this apprenticeship, what were the next steps in your career? Where did you finish off your level 3 to get your hours? And then where did you go, to do your interprovincial?
So year 2, I did it at Nate in Edmonton. And then for my third year, I went to Red Deer College. I chose to go there because I don't think Nate offered the B pressure, like to take your B pressure at the end of school, but Red Deer did. I didn't pass, by the way, first time. So did my third year in Red Deer, and then again went out to work in the field. I think Loreburn, Saskatchewan, maybe was one of my next jobs. A couple jobs out of town anyway, where I was just doing structural welding on like pipeline stations. So pile caps, stairs, supports, all that kind of fun stuff.
Yeah. And then did you write your IP there out of Red Deer? Like your free Red Seal?
So I wrote it out of Red Deer. Yes, correct.
And you passed it your first try?
No, I'm like, should I say that?
No, that's fine. Like I taught the Red Seal program level 3, and I think at the best, I'd say I probably had about an 80% pass rate, but it's very common for people to fail their Red Seal on the first try. It's a hard test.
That's pretty good. I'm like 80%.
Yeah, but I had one of the highest averages in the country, but that's because that's all I did. When all you have to do is teach Red Seal, I got really good at it. Most colleges don't have that ability. Like the instructors are teaching level 1 and level 2 and level 3. So it's really hard to give the focus because really got to work with level 3s. Like it's tough.
Yeah, I think my main focus, like obviously it would have been nice to get the Red Seal, but like the last month, they basically handed us a book. We're like, here, if you have time, like study this, like take a crack at the Red Seal. But obviously didn't study enough.
So did you get it on your second try, third try, fourth try?
I got it on the second, and I took it just in Edmonton. Yeah.
And how did you find the Red Seal exam? Did you find it easy? Did you find it tough?
No, I found it like super tough. But again, I'm not a school person. I get sidetracked. Probably have a bit of ADHD. Can't study very well.
I think that most welders, we become welders because we're a bit ADHD. Like we like to do stuff and keep moving, right?
Keep the hands busy for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So what advice would you give someone that's going into their Red Seal right now, being like, I'm going in to write my Red Seal next month? What would Jen do?
What would Jen do? Let's see. I don't know. I guess study. But what I found is like when a lot of it was field experience, like some of the questions were about welding on ships, which I'd never done. So I think there's 2 different exams. I'll just wish you luck. Hope you get lucky, get the easier exam.
I think it's actually 3. I think they cycle 3 exams.
Okay, see, and as soon as we sit down, they're like, oh, it's a couple of the guys. The brown one's the easy one. I'm like, oh no, I got the pink one. Train me. Who knows?
So now, in terms of your pressure ticket, so I have friends that went to Red Deer College. Actually, a friend of mine who's a teacher, and they loved that program because they got their Red Seal for journeyman welding, and then they also were able to get their B pressure out of Alberta, which is your, I think it's your 2. It's equivalent to what the 2-inch, I think. Oh no, it's the initial 6. I think it's the initial 6 here in Saskatchewan through TSASC. So that's a great program to come out with a Red Seal and to come out with your initial 6. I mean, that's awesome. Were you able to pass your pressure ticket on your first try? Because that's also a tough one.
No, I think 2 people in my class passed. Got their B pressure ticket, but I did take it again. I actually had my daughter already. She was 3 months old, and yeah, I thought I'm getting this thing. So I did go and take it and got it, and that was the most stressful test like I've ever done in my life. Crazy test.
Yeah, and you're even allowed to grind. and it's still hard.
I know. Well, it's like 3 hours, whatever it is, three and a half. Like that's so much time. I blew a huge hole in my root on the bottom within like the first 10 minutes. So right then I'm like, I'm screwed. Like there's no way. Go out, take a breather, come back. Pretty much, used up the entire time. In the middle of the test, I like jammed my buffing wheel. Like trying to unjam it, smashed my thumb, lost a thumbnail. It was crazy.
Just hijinks all around.
Oh yeah, it was just sweating, soaking wet, coming out. But I did get it, so that's the main thing, right?
Good. Yeah, that's all that matters.
And I can do a repair, so there's two.
Well, and that's why I've seen lots of young students in school on the day of their test. It's like the worst weld they ever do. They practice. Everything's beautiful. I'm coaching them. They're like, yeah. Then test day, they like lose their mind and blow a hole. And it's like, I blew a hole. I failed. It's like, no, now you're going to have to really prove you're a good welder because it's repair time. And, honestly, the 7018 will probably hold better than the 6010 anyways. So just get it in there nice and clean and just start praying.
Yeah, that was. I think I did come out to my instructor. It was like, I don't know, it's over. Nope, get back in there. Let's see what you can really do. So.
Yeah. So how old are you at this point? Like, did you got your Red Seal, you got a pressure ticket, you said you had done it sounds like a lot of field work in between working on the structural side and welding. How old are you at this point in your career? Like how far along are you?
So I'm 26 years old right now. So I think like welding, probably I got 9 years in already. So
okay. So then what did you do once you got all your certifications, your Red Seal, your pressure ticket? What kind of work were you looking for? What did you envision yourself doing?
So in my head, I had my daughter in 2019 and I wanted to get my B pressure ticket because I had hopes of finding a job in town, like a pipe welding job. I just thought if I was going to be working, right, make it worth it, make some good money. But then just not a good time for a new welder to be getting a job. I couldn't find too much that was actually in town in Edmonton. And then with just something that wasn't crazy hours, like I had a new baby at home, right?
Yeah.
And so it was at that time, I couldn't find anything, a couple months. And then the idea started floating around my head, like, well, what if I started kind of my own business? I could make my own hours, do my own thing. So.
And how did that process work?
I'm like, should I? Pretty good. So initially, like the art thing never even occurred to me that like making sculptures, I don't even think I'd seen that being done too much. I don't know if it's not as big here in Canada or just hadn't seen a lot of it. So initially I thought I would build table bases and do just some structural stuff that people would buy that could bring in a little bit of money. And then, I made my husband a guitar and I kind of took off from there.
So, you're sitting there thinking about ways to make money, the side hustle, the thing that all welders want to have and many do. Were you artistic before? Like, were you a doodler or a drawer or, were you into this stuff before? Or did you just wake up one day and you'd be like, I don't know how to do this, but I think I can do it?
That's pretty much exactly how it went. I don't have a clue how to do this, but I'm going to try. Yeah, I'm not a pencil artist. I can't draw to save my life. Like sometimes for a piece, I'll try to do a sketch, like make an actual plan, and it looks like a grade 2-year-old did it. 2-year-old, grade 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically, I had seen like pictures on Pinterest. Maybe I'd seen some things done, and I thought like that's pretty cool. If I could do that, I can weld. So, well, I'll take a crack at it. So for Father's Day, actually, I wanted to make Dylan a full-size steel guitar. But all I had for tools, I had a little MIG welder and then just a 4.5-inch grinder, a little corner in the garage. So no plasma cutter, nothing. So I cut out a sheet steel just with my little zip disc and my grinder. Very basic tools. And anyway, it all came together. And then in the end, it turned out looking pretty cool. Not to be cocky. Pretty good.
Like,
And
and
that,
I was gonna ask you that, like, like you decide to do this, you have to have some tools. So you got a little like Mastercraft Canadian Tire MIG welder in the garage, or
no,
what
it's
were
a Lincoln. It's a decent one. It's a
okay,
decent
so
one.
like the MP210, like a pretty good one, or
Yeah, it's decent, just as MIG welding though,
okay,
unfortunately.
yeah.
But yeah, anyway, so did this and I posted it on my Instagram, and then it's when all that positive feedback came in. I thought like, okay, people like I think it's cool, but other people do too.
Hmm.
Maybe I should keep on going with this.
So, at this point, you said you had a little corner in the garage, just some basic tools. When you saw people taking a liking to what you had done with the guitar, what was next? Were you like, I'm just gonna make 100 guitars, or did you, or were you like, I want to see what else I can make, or what was the next thing that you thought I'm gonna try to do?
So I've gotten pretty lucky, I guess, in that it seems like when I'm coming to the end of one job, something else comes in. So I just finished this guitar. I was gonna make another one, and then it's when the first Mallard deck I did, somebody asked me to do that, which that one I took on and literally like really doubted myself. I'm like, well, I can make a little cutlery bird with 2 spoons and a fork, but to make a full size sculpture kind of seemed a little out there. But I said, yeah, sure.
So how do you figure this out with no artistic experience? Like, I've interviewed people that went to like art college, like 4 years of art college, and to learn about forms and shape and depth and all this stuff. How do you figure out while you're making it that it's working, that it's looking good? Do you YouTube video other people? Do you like, how do you learn that stuff?
Honestly, yeah, I've been asked that a couple times, and I don't even know what to say because I it's completely self taught. Like no one in my family is an artist, that's for sure. I can't paint, but I basically just have this vision in my head, and like I said, can't put it on paper, but I start with like a piece of scrap steel, and I got really good with a grinding disc, I guess, in my apprenticeship. But yeah, I kind of just, I don't know, the hands just flow. I don't know.
Yeah,
Just,
it just comes together.
yeah. But yeah, I have talked to other artists, and yeah, they went to university for sculpture, and maybe one day I'll get there.
You might not have to. You might have already figured it out. You like cracked the code. I don't know.
Maybe.
So, you get the Mallard, you've done the guitar. Is this starting to feel like a business, or is it starting to feel like just like a hobby that might have some legs?
So it wasn't until I think the headdress that I did, which was late last year. You've seen that the big headdress.
Yeah, it's on your Instagram. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was after that one. I sold it for pretty good money, and then just the feedback too that got I got quite a bit of attention on social media, and I had more interest for things like that. And yeah, it was kind of after that one, and just it turned out pretty good. I thought, I can maybe do this if I make enough, every month or whatever,
Yeah.
and turn it into a business. So I actually just recently became incorporated, so I am officially a full time business.
And your company's name is Metal Monkey Design Co.
Metal Monkey Design Co. Yeah.
All right. Now, let's take a break now, and when I get back here with you for this interview, I want to dive into that. Like, what was the process of starting this business, and what it looks like you in terms of moving forward. So for all the people that are following along, you can find Jen on Instagram, on Metal Monkey Design Co. on Instagram. Do you have a website?
Yeah, metalmonkeydesign.com.
Okay, metalmonkeydesign.com, and we'll be right back here after some words from our sponsors. And we are back here on the CWB Association podcast. My name is Max. We have Jen here. She's talking to us about her company, Metal Monkey Design, and her career in the welding world. So, right before the break, we were talking about you selling the headdress and being like, okay, this is more for real. And like Hypertherm was, kind of pimping out your your headdress too. That gets you a lot of, follows. A lot of people will know who you are and start to see your work. But that's still a big step from having a business that puts food on your table, right? So during this time, like you did the guitar, then the mallard, and then you're starting to pick up more work. Were you still working at a shop somewhere, or were you kind of trying to juggle work with this art path, or did you just say, you know what, I'm just going to start working on art and just see where that goes?
Yeah, well, I did plan to get an actual welding job, maybe in a fag shop. My son's just a year and a half, so it was right around this time. I was either gonna dive into this art thing and have a go at this, or get your 9 to 5 job. So I don't know. I guess I figured like I got to take a chance at this, because if I don't, I'll always regret it, right? Just not even trying. So yeah, right now I'm just doing the art, doing the art. Like it feels like 7 days a week. I think it is, between trying to get the social media going in the garage, all that thing.
And are you still building everything with a 4.5-inch grinder and a Lincoln welder?
No, so I have over the year got some better tools, a plasma cutter, which has been just a game changer in all my art. Because I was cutting, everything with just a zip disc, which you burn through a lot of zip discs.
Well, and they blow up, and it's scary because, they're not good at going around circles.
No, that's right. So yeah, the plasma cutter was definitely a big game changer, and I guess too, a big kickstart to the actual business part was that cattail job I got for the golf course. So that was the first big scale job that I got. That kind of got the wheels turning, okay, I can make some good money doing this. And that one, was a pretty wild time. I had a 3-week-old baby when I took that.
So, you decide to incorporate the company. So you got your name, you go through the process of incorporation, which is actually not that complicated for people that are out there. It's not bad, but you set up a bank account, you get to register your name, blah, blah, blah. Now, how do you decide how much art is worth? This is a question that's really tricky for a lot of artists. And on some ends, I look at some artists and I'm like, you're charging way too low. I know that took you freaking a ton of hours and now you're selling it. How can you make money on that? And on the other end, there's art that you see go out there that's like when you go to those art metal furniture stores and you see a metal table and it's 12 grand and you're like, okay, there's $60 of steel. What the heck? So how do you decide, especially without an art background, what's something worth? How do you, the cattail job comes in or the headdress comes in, you're pick a number out of the air. How does it work?
So that's definitely right now for me, probably the hardest part about starting this business, is because you don't want to undersell yourself, but when you're just beginning, you don't have that confidence or just the credit, I guess, to price your art super high. So the cattail job was, like I said, my first bigger job. I definitely undervalued it. I was just happy to get a job. And more for me, it was just about the experience and kind of,
getting out there. Yeah.
Absolutely. Get your name out there. But then when I was in the job and after, the time it actually took, definitely undersold myself. I am getting a little bit better. And I think the more you do, right, I've got, for say the headdress, I know I track my hours. I tracked the first one, the second headdress, figured out how much hours material cost. But still, even with material costs, and hours, it's still super hard, because if it's something that's rare, like the gorilla head, it's no one has done that. I know how long it took me, what materials were, but no one's done that. So does that make it more valuable? It's super, super hard to price your art, I guess.
It is. And and even if you reproduce something, you make the first one, it's going to take X number of hours. And no matter how fancy or crazy or wild it is, the second one's not going to take as long. It just won't, because right?
Yeah.
Now, then do you charge what it took to make the first one, or do you charge what it took to make the second one or the 10th one, or how do you know?
Well, and then too, everyone I do, Like people may not notice this from the outside, but everyone I do for the mallards example, I'm getting a little more detailed, like they are getting a little bit. But then, yeah, you price them the same. I don't know. And then it's trial and error. So you price them too low, a lot of people buying them. And then it's kind of like when people quit making offers and buying your stuff, you've gone too high. I don't know. I'm still figuring it out.
And how did you start investing into equipment? What was some of the stuff that you had to have, to get this kind of art stuff off the ground better?
So definitely, I think I had the welder already, but the plasma cutter was a huge, like I said, game changer. And that was kind of the tool I had to have to get any further with the art. Because something that I use every single day and definitely makes a huge difference. And you can cut every single shape out, right, that you have in your head. It's just like drawing with a pencil. So that's a huge one. I could use a lot more tools though. That's what you're asking. I have a long list.
Do you do much TIG or do you do everything with MIG? Do you have any formers or a shear or a brake press or any of that stuff?
None of that cool stuff. Yeah, a TIG welder is next on my list. I think that'll bring a different game to my art, just being able to weld the different metals besides steel and stainless.
Mm-hmm.
And a CNC machine is another one. That's a little...
That would be very cool.
Yeah. And then just something, right? You have a CNC. Now you can have kind of a regular income coming in, just firing out signs and different stuff like that.
So one of the things that I've noticed when I look at your art that kind of stands out from other artists, I think it's almost like your signature kind of look, is that it's textured MIG beads that are then ground into a form. So it's like you layer these MIG, shapes, and then you like fine tune it with a grinder to kind of release. Then it gives you like some depth with the shiny and the background. How did you figure out that look? Because that's not something that's common. That's something I've only really seen you do, and it's kind of like your look. You did it with the cattails, you did it with the gorilla head, you've done it with some of the other pieces, right?
Yeah. I think just getting in the shop and just welding. I haven't really watched a ton of videos because they're hard to find. Like if you look up sculpting a metal gorilla, you probably won't find anything. So I think definitely just getting in there. Like the cattail was the first one big job that I was using the textures. And then that fish that I did, it's like the metal pike. That was the first, I wasn't using utensils or anything. It was just straight metal, straight sculpting. And I think just going, I don't know, I feel like super comfortable with a grinder, and the flapper wheel is like my main man. So yeah, I think just having the experience, like all through my apprenticeship, welding jobs, I just got super comfortable with the tools, and they're kind of like extensions of my hands, I guess, at this point. And then, yeah, I don't know, the MIG welder is great because you just hold the trigger and you can put the beads anywhere you want. And honestly, I like see in my head, look for the gorilla, kind of just looking at a picture, seeing the fur, and just, I don't know, it just comes out. What's in my head, it just comes out with the welds. I don't know.
I wish I was like you. So I'm not artistic, and I've tried to figure it out, and I just keep disappointing myself more than anything. And I'm really happy that you were able to just dive in and start swimming, because I dove in and sank like a rock. And I keep trying though. I keep trying. Now, where do you get some of your some of your vision from, or some of the inspiration from? Is everything an ask? Is everything someone's coming up to you and asking you to do this, or are some of these things just coming out from inside of you?
Everything up until the gorilla head has been a commission piece. Actually, that's not true. The headdress was the first one. I'd seen a picture, which that is a lot of my inspiration, is I'll come across a photograph, and that is one that I had seen and thought, hey, that would be pretty cool to turn, into a 3D metal sculpture. But again, that one was tough because the material is like in real life, it's leather, and how do you get that to look, like there's movement in the metal. So yeah, that's another one, just using a hammer. But inspiration, yeah, I would say just pictures, photographs. The gorilla head, another one. just seen a picture online, thought, I wonder if I could make a gorilla head.
Yeah, well, that's odd. Like, how often do you Google gorillas?
Well, I think that one came from Joe Rogan. Yeah, I listened to Joe Rogan. He's big on like primates, apes. So I guess initially I'm like, I'm going to make this. I'm going to send this to Joe Rogan. Turns out he's super hard to get a hold of if you have any insider tips.
Hashtag Joe Rogan. If you want a gorilla head, we got a girl here, Jen. She made one for you.
There we go. Help me out.
And so, like, are you always looking for things to inspire you? Like, are you just, scrolling Instagram or National Geographic? I don't know, like looking for things to make, or do they just kind of pop into your head?
They definitely pop into my head, like, and it's just what I'm around to. Like, I'm a hunter, fisher, so right, the pipe was one. Like, I do quite a bit of fishing, so that was one that just kind of made sense. Thought it'd be cool to do. I'm gonna do like a set of antlers and a European elk mount. I thought it'd be cool. So I guess it's just, like nature is definitely a big inspiration, and like animals, obviously. But the gorilla head, I also just did kind of prove to myself, because the ducks, they don't really have any like character. It's a duck.
Yeah,
but
facial expressions. Yeah.
Yeah, the gorilla was like a completely different level because it has a face and like a look to it. So just doing that, I kind of proved to myself maybe I can reach a different level.
How many times did you have to like redo stuff on the gorilla face? Like, how often did you have to be like, no, this is no good, and take it all off and start over, or did it layer out pretty good?
A few times for sure. Like mainly when you're building the frame, so I can see it right away. Build the frame, and I got the picture behind it, and I'll be like, oh no, that looks super doofy. And that's pretty
Super
much
goofy. Yeah.
super goofy. That's up. Pretty much throughout the whole process, I'm like, half the time I'm not even welding. I'm just staring at this. If you were to come watch me for a day, you'd be disappointed because I'm just standing there, like looking at it. Yeah, and I'll stare at it, for quite a long time. Try something, cut it apart. So that's basically for me the building process. Like, that's how you get it right. Takes a couple errors.
So now, what's the plan for the future for Metal Monkey Design Co. and for Jen? You got your shop, you got incorporated. I'd imagine you probably want to get this up to the point where it's like work's going out almost every day, or commissions are going on. So what's your maximum? Like, what do you think is your max load? Like, where do you want to get to? And do you want to do like an art exhibit of your own? Do you want to get an e-store? Do you want to, how do you see your business progressing?
So as we speak right now, I actually don't have a shop. I've been working out the corner of my garage this entire time, a little table. We're actually putting one up right now. So it should be done in the next couple of weeks, and I'll have my own. That'll be a huge step forward. Just having my own workspace, allows me to take on some bigger commission jobs. But I think for this next couple of years anyway, I just do want to get to a point where I've got 3-4 pieces going out a month, like you said, just consistent sales. And I would like to get to a point down the road where I'm just making what I want, putting it up for sale, and it sells. But definitely a huge part of that is growing the social media, I think, to get to that point. Because you can make cool if no one sees it,
Yeah, and I don't know how it works in the art world. Like, I know just from watching movies, because I don't know, but like in the past, there was like art dealers and people you deal with that help sell your art and work with you on your portfolio. But with social media, I don't know if that's the thing anymore. I don't know if that's how it works, or if everyone's just out there on their own trying to just sell their own stuff through like, Pinterest or whatever,
Right. I do, have an Etsy shop, but again, it's you put your stuff on, but it's the advertising. Because how is anyone going to find your stuff, right? Unless you advertise it. So I'm not really sure. I mean, I do plan hopefully this next year to go to some art exhibits and bring a portfolio. Say, hey, would you like my stuff? I'm in the Edmonton Boat and Sportsman Show actually in March. we'll have a table set up there, and that hopefully just the more people that see your stuff, I guess, is good exposure. So
Now,
just doing
were you ever involved with like the CWB Association chapter in Edmonton? Because they got a huge chapter there. Were you ever a part of that or involved with that at all?
no, I never was, but that definitely is something I'm interested in getting more involved in. Just
Yeah, because there's also one in Saskatoon, right? So,
okay.
like and they like I mean they're doing an open house at J&E, I think in 2 weeks. But then that might be another group of people that might be able to help you get involved with shows or exhibits because they're always a part of like different job fairs and industry fairs and stuff
Yeah.
like that and help you get your name out there,
Yeah, and I think that's just it. Talking to the right people, right? Everyone's got connections, but to
Ne-
find these people.
Networking's huge. Like I'll tell you a story. I was in CanWeld/FabTech in Toronto earlier this year, and I was hanging out with Stephanie Hoffman. Do you know who she is?
Oh yeah, yeah, big fan. I actually watched that whole
Metal
metal
Shop
mess.
now. Yeah. So me and Steph were hanging out, and we were just about to leave this venue, and there was a young girl there. Actually, I have her card here. Oh, that's not it. But it's Stephafina or something like this, Stevina. But anyway, she's an artist. And she had heard that Stephanie Hoffman was in town for this conference, and she basically just lurked and hung around until she ran into and saw Stephanie, and she came running up to her and was like, "Stephanie, I'm a big fan." And I was like, "Oh, this is kind of crazy, a little bit of fangirl moment." And like you never know how this celebrity stuff works, but it's like I'm an artist. I just want to give you this card. It's got my Instagram on it. Take a look at it, and just if you can, just give me the follow because that'll help get my portfolio out there. And I remember thinking like it's got to be so tough for an artist to like get to that next level where more people are seeing what you're doing. And I was like, wow, that's really ballsy. Like for this person to like come, she's not even from Toronto. Like she's from like an hour or more away to come here
Oh
just because she heard she was coming and just because she wanted to elevate her business a little bit more to just,
yeah.
And I was like, wow, that's commitment.
Oh, for sure. And I think that's the tough thing too as an artist. So in my experience anyway, you make something like the Gorilla Head, and it's like it's so cool, it's so awesome. People share it for like a hot minute, and then the next day, old news, everyone forgets. You need to
Yeah.
like keep producing cool like every single week, basically.
Or reshare, because that's one thing I've noticed is a lot of artists will just keep resharing even older stuff and cycle it through. So even just
Yeah,
to keep it fresh in people's minds, right?
right. Just keep it out, like getting out there, keep people seeing it for sure. They're
Yeah.
like, she's only made 3 things her entire life. She just keeps resharing.
And now what's your plan in terms of, looking down for commissions? How do people get a hold of you? How do people find you if they want something? Especially, you say you love the hunting and fishing scene. That might be a whole genre of work right there,
Yeah,
between like Ducks Unlimited and all these like hunting and fishing associations, which there's tons of in the West, like how
yeah.
did the people get a hold of you? Because they might listen to this podcast and be like, I want Jen to make me a full size elk. I don't know, like
Yeah. So that's funny you say that because I kind of this year I thought it might be like I might not be able to get Joe Rogan, but Steve Ranella, maybe I was thinking I could send him a fish or something
Mhm.
like that. Jim Shockey shared my mallard last year, and that was a huge thing.
Good.
So anyway, how do they get a hold of me? That FF Journal, I had kind of a little segment in there that magazine.
Hmm.
That was a huge thing for me because I had a bunch of hunters in the States contact me. They wanted these mallards done.
Hmm.
But through email is definitely the best way. And then I do have a website, which has my email. You just hit contact artist, and there you go.
All right. Well, we might have to put you in our magazine. Would you be down with doing an article for Weld magazine?
Absolutely.
Well, you shouldn't have said that. Now we're gonna pull you in. We're gonna people will be calling you now.
Yeah, that's what we want, Max.
Good, good. Well, we're coming up to the end of the interview here, so I just have a couple more questions. First of all, do you have any plans to get back into any type of a welding leadership position? Perhaps, working with women or women in trades or being an advocate or any of that like kind of more industry stuff, or do you just want to focus on your art for the next while?
No, I would definitely be open. I mean, as a woman, you know, in the welding field and have been working in this field for basically my entire life,
Adult life. Yeah.
high school. Yeah. Yeah, it's huge because for me, it wasn't really like very uncommon for a woman. I think I had 2 girls in my welding class. But definitely if I could be in a position where I do promote, you know, the trades to young women, yeah, that's and the job I do right now, it allows for room for a position like that, you know, because it's kind of it is a full-time job, but I make my own hours. I can allow for, you know, different position like that.
You can do the art's the main gig. You can have other side hustles.
That's just it, yeah. And I mean, that's a side hustle that I 100% would be down to do.
Yeah,
you can change someone's life, right?
That's absolutely it. And we're always looking for people to be leaders, you know. And rural Saskatchewan needs a lot of them. Like the mines out there, Jansen, which is east of Saskatoon, but you're looking at some of the mines and potash mines and work that's going on around in Saskatchewan. They're looking for so many employees, and you know, lots of them have requirements for women, Indigenous people of color, and they're really struggling hitting those marks, man. Like it's tough, and we need more advocates out there. So I love that you're interested in that.
For sure.
And then the last question is, you know, what kind of advice would you give yourself if you could go back in time right now and jump into a time machine and pop up in front of Jen right as she's graduating high school, and she's like, I'm a level 1 welder, I know everything, and you're like, what advice would you give to her going back in time?
Ooh, young Jen. Well,
and old Jen pops up, not that you're old, but you know, older Jen pops up right in front of her.
Oh, young Jen could use a lot of advice. No, I think just like focus on your schooling. That's so important. Like when you're 18 years old and you know you go into school and it doesn't seem like it's more of a not fun thing. I mean, I was focused enough to get through, but yeah, just do really focus on what your teachers and instructors are teaching you, because it is going to become valuable once you do get into the field, right? Even like the welding class portion of it, like do the work, grind it out, and it will pay off. I could have passed my B pressure if I kept my head down. And then just, you know, like if this is more for like the girls going in, but it is intimidating. You walk into a shop and you're the only girl, and a young girl too. So automatically, you know, you're looked at like you can't do this, or maybe you're a little bit weaker than some of the guys. But just having,
but not all the guys. There's weak guys too. There's always little guys too, right? Yeah,
absolutely. But it's right. You're a young girl. You're just automatically displayed as you can't do this. And I don't know. My biggest advice would just be work hard, work your ass off, and like you have to prove yourself every single day. But it's possible, and once you do, it's very gratifying and worth it for sure.
Well, awesome. I've loved having you on the show. It's been a great interview. And, you know, great advice for young women and also for people looking to get into making art. And, you know, and for the people that are listening, Metal Monkey Design Co. on Instagram, metalmonkeydesign.com.
Yeah.
On the internet. And follow Jen, figure out what's going on. And if you got something interesting you want to get built, reach out to her. And plus, she's in Saskatchewan, which is my home province. So, hey, props to Saskatchewan, even though she's from Alberta. But we'll forgive her, right, everyone? We'll forgive her. And you know, I love that you came on the show. Thanks for taking the time.
Thanks, Max.
And for the people following the show, thanks for downloading, sharing, and liking the show. Keep it up. Let's keep the numbers strong. Keep bringing the guests in. Like I said in the last episode, we're prepping towards show 100. We're coming up on the 100th anniversary of our show, and we got lots of prizes coming up. And we're working towards FabTech. We're going to be in FabTech, and we're looking to come out of there with, I don't know, at least 5 podcasts with some really, really cool guests. We'll be interviewing a lot of the same people. I know we already got Ray Ripple back online with that episode. I think we got I think I'm going to be meeting with Jason Becker down there. We might do some stuff together with our junkies. So we're going to have lots of fun in FabTech. And if you are going to FabTech, make sure you find us and reach out to us, because we're going to be doing a lot of cool stuff, and we're going to be involved with all the events there. So have fun, keep following the show, and we'll talk to you soon. Stay tuned.
We hope you enjoyed the show.